Hello there! I'm the chess dev RolandTitan, and I played the MadChess RPG in one straight 16-hour session live just to bring this to you. So let's talk about it. First, let's get a few things out of the way. I played the RPG in a closed beta. Many of the biggest issues will be fixed prior to launch. The dev is working on it. 2, I have spoken extensively with the dev as a peer. 3, the community forming around this game is amazing. I mean, there's over 200 people in that Discord, and the discussions are deep and intensive and heavy about balance. There's people playtesting all the time. I have interacted with these people heavily, and they share a common base with my community. That being said, I do have critiques I am going to put forth towards the RPG, both in the form I played and the form I expect it to be in its final state. So let's get to it. First, let's speak broadly about the level design. The level design is 8x8, handcrafted positions for each individual stage where you have to beat the AI in order to win. The AI has a set number of pieces in set positions, and it's the same every time for each level. Now, this is not the best way this could have been done. There are pros, first of all being ease of coding and creation, and the UI matches the actual game of the non-RPG portion, the competitive game, directly. And it's simpler to design 8x8. It's of course restrictive because anytime you want to make terrain, you have to add these pieces that are uncapturable or can only be captured by pieces of like a pawn or stronger, that type of thing. But the MadChess dev does this swimmingly throughout. I would say that the level design, given this 8x8 restriction, is almost as good as it could have been. However, there is wasted potential. Limiting yourself just to 8x8 removes far more interesting gameplay possibilities than it adds. In fact, one of the biggest problems that the RPG struggles with is interesting challenges without just jamming impossible material disadvantages in your face, something we'll discuss more later. And it removes some possibility for very direct puzzle solving and figuring out that you could have done with a more wide and varied level design. Plus, it ends up feeling monotonous. By the midpoint or even 2 hours in, many of my viewers were bored. I was bored by the 8x8, and it wasn't until the difficulty really ramped up and I had to focus exceptionally hard in order to even beat the levels that it became interesting again. And having hours of content that is both easy and boring is not helpful. It needed to be spiced up. Second point, the progression. Now, throughout the MadChess RPG, you start with the normal chess army and you unlock other armies to use, new tools from the other armies that are in the MadChess array in order to continue moving forward. Essentially, you're forcefully recruiting allies and creating a massive army that's sweeping across. Now, you never get the feeling that you're actually gaining allies. What you get the feeling is you're getting new characters to play. Now, there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but it removes a sense of progression, especially since that they're, due to the limitation of these being chess-type armies, it feels much more the same than you would gain in a typical fighting game or platformer fashion in playing a different character. For example, playing Knuckles, Sonic, and Tails in Sonic Heroes gives you lots of different avenues to explore and options, and sometimes you would rather have multiple characters. But that actually comes back to my point. These additional pieces, these additional armies could have been something you add, whether you're handcrafting a set of 16 pieces from your options, or just simply being able to recruit pieces from the other armies to use during your normal game. This would have solved the progression issue and would have given you much more reason to go on the side missions to get additional allies, because it would have made you stronger and given you a way to overcome the additional material disadvantages you have by the midpoint of 8 hours into this RPG. Now, I think the speedrun could take as little as 4 hours, but that's another story. Now, for the biggest issue this RPG game has. I acknowledge that this is something that is being addressed, but in its current form will always be at least partially an issue. And that is the power level of the enemies, the AI which relates to the power level, and the bugs. Now, the reason I have grouped these all together is because they're separate problems that you have to use in order to address each other. Sometimes a bug will make playing a certain way impossible, and therefore you have to abuse a bad AI in order to solve it. That will probably resolve by final release. Sometimes you are facing an overwhelming enemy that has like 6 queens and like 2 other rooks and just a bajillion pawns, and you're sitting here with your hands in your hair wondering, how would I ever beat this? If I was facing a human right now, or even a strong computer, or even a moderately competent computer, this would be impossible. And that fact, that is psychologically at the back of your mind, actually detracts a lot from the gameplay experience here. Because you know that you're winning because the AI is abusable. And that AI shouldn't be abusable. Furthermore, you shouldn't have an overwhelming material disadvantage that you can't levy against in any way. Going back to the progression point, because your army is always a set strength and you can't add to it, it doesn't feel like you can climb up this hill. In other words, you're always level 1. You just can play different level 1 characters. One thing I will say is, in a normal game, such as Super Mario Bros., having a bad or predictable AI on an enemy can be a good thing. In fact, it can help the gameplay loop feel consistent, especially if you're facing the same enemy over and over, and figuring out how they move, such as another example, Dark Souls, can be a major part of actually beating the enemy. Now, the problem in a chess RPG setting, or even a chess setting, is an expectation of intelligence from your opponent, and that intelligence is a part of the challenge.
The AI is really dumb.
And there's an issue that comes up even in normal chess gameplay with facing someone far weaker than you. Sure, it's fun the first time, but it doesn't feel good. It's not a real challenge, and that doubt, especially from people used to chess, causes problems here when it's used as a leverage against you. But at the same time, if you're just facing stockfish over and over again, it would be oppressive. So I would say that something important is having the potential for a strong AI, and having the option for the player to turn it on, and having a way to still overcome that strong AI for players of most strengths with a progression system. Now, there will be players that simply cannot beat this RPG no matter how weak you make the AI. Some people just aren't amazing at chess. But for most players, this is going to be a psychological issue. This is going to be something that gets in the way of the play experience, if not addressed. Towards the end, I had to abuse bugs. Once I abused the AI in order to defeat an overwhelming disadvantage to actually kill the enemy king, just by using genies and going off the back rank and basically fools mating them, because the enemy AI didn't recognize that this army could attack backwards through the back of my board into their territory. And by the time it realized, it was too late. If the AI simply had moved a pawn forward loosely adjacent to their king to develop it and, force Bomb Cloud, it would have been fine, but they didn't. And the same goes for the final boss. I am almost ashamed. That final boss I beat due to a bug. I legitimately I played the enemy so much that eventually the enemy AI froze in a position, and their clock runs down just like yours. So I waited 26 minutes to win on time because the enemy AI was frozen. What the hell? Why'd you move back? What the hell? This stuff just free killed. Am I even in check? Does it say I'm in check? Can I move anything? It's not letting me move. Oh, it froze. My opponent it's I win. I just wait 27 minutes. Their clock is running down. It's frozen. We're gonna glitch cheese this shit. Yep, look at that. Look at that. That's how we win this. That's how we end it off, baby. Alright, so what do we want to do for 27 minutes? Those are the biggest issues. But honestly, this game, I feel like by the time it has launched, won't feel nearly as oppressive as it did. And it probably feels better to not play all at once. 16 hours is a long time to sit down and play a game, especially when you feel like it's your job, and I feel like that detracted from my experience a little. Secondary, the idea is wonderful. I happen to love chess RPGs and will be playing more of them in the future, but this one falls short of what it could be, at least at the moment. We'll see how it turns out, and I have a lot of hope. This was the chess dev RolandTitan, signing off. I'm not a big YouTuber, so please like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends that like chess, and definitely check out the game. The issues with the RPG are not issues with competitive. MadChess is everything Chess 2 the sequel promised it would be, but better. Sure that the dev is a little bit too heavy on the factions and throwing too many at you, but hey, take it from me, that is an easy problem to have. It just means you're too creative, whatever that means. You can join my Discord down below, and in fact, the MadChess dev is in my Discord if you want a potential link into early access. I'm not going to promise he'll say yes. In fact, I'm going to ask you not to bug him too much in case this video blows up. Have a wonderful day, everybody.